Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Today is the blind man, the 6th week. Just to remember, TTSSPBP, treasure of heaven, temptation, prodigal son, Samaritan woman, paralytic man last week, blind man this week, Palm Sunday next week. Just as a review for the whole weeks, that if you have any treasures inside you that will not prevent you from being subjected to temptations, which will be a source of annoyance to you. And as of this kind of temptation, you will be falling in a trap that you will be away from God. But you can be like the prodigal son, to be back to yourself and to be back to God. If you can't, God himself will come to you personally, like the Samaritan woman, to talk to you and grab you back again. And if you can't walk because of the sins which you are doing, he will be with you, like the paralytic man, asking you, do you want to be well? Just he wants you to be with him. Even if you are not like the paralytic man, but more than that, you are totally blind, you do not have eyes, the sins are just completely blocking you from seeing God. With God, you will be having new eyes to be created, so that you will be able to see God and to be with God all the time. That's the blind man. First of all, we are going to talk about some historical stuff from the chapter, which is John chapter 9. Simply the story that there was a man who was born blind, simply he had no eyes, and according to that, people were asking Jesus, he did any kind of mistakes or sins in his life or not, or maybe his father's. Why this sentence? At that time, it is well known that we have three things. Either this person did a sin or a mistake in his life, that's why he got this sickness, because the sickness was connected to any kind of sins. So if you did any sin, you will be having this kind of sickness. Or maybe his fathers, his parents, did something, that's why he is having this kind of sickness. Or another thing, that he was living in another living before being created to live as a human being on earth, and in that other life he did a mistake or a sin. Accordingly, he will be having this kind of sickness now. This was the understanding of people at that time. This is a reference, so they were asking, this kind of sickness is because of which one? Another thing, that God himself, he did the clay and put it on his eyes, so that this guy is going to wash himself in the Siloam, which is meaning the transporter. Why it was meaning transporter? Because simply this lake was made during the captures in Jerusalem, so that they want water to be inside. How? They connected some channels under the ground with a source of water called Mariam. And whatever the water coming from this source, which is called Mariam source of water, it comes to this lake, and they call it the transporter, because the water is transported from this source of water, the Mariam source, to this place. That's another one. Another historical thing that we need to talk about, that those guys, the Pharisees, were talking to the guy, the blind man, at the end of the story, and were threatening him, asking him, praise your Lord. Why praising the Lord? Why this? Because that means we are going to give you a punishment. At that time, there were two kinds of punishment. The civil punishment and the religious punishment. The religious punishment, which is simply not to pray, not to be in any, like doing any kind of religious things for a certain amount, for a certain time. They are going to figure out how long. The civil one, which is no one you will be connected with at all. No merchants, no selling, no buying, nothing. So it was kind of threat. Why? They were threatening This guy, so that this guy, they wanted him to say something against Jesus. Don't say that he did a miracle. Say he is nothing. He is not a prophet. He is a magical man. He is connected to devil. Anything like that. So they were threatening him. And that's why when they were talking to his parents said it clearly. His parents said it clearly. We don't know anything. Talk to him. He is an adult. Why? Because they want to be away from the two punishments. This is the historical part. The other one, which is the comments that we need to have from this story, which is simply being connected to God, you will see. If you cannot see with God, you will be able to see. He will enlighten your mindset, your heart, your body, your everything, your mind. God will do that. And that's why this week is the week of baptism. Because through baptism, we renewed our lives. So through God, we can have this kind of renewal. And the God has the power to renew your eyes. Another one, which is the clay. Why? Because we as humans were created from this. And the God recreated the eyes to this guy and he made new eyes to him from the same source. Another one which is very important, that sometimes we are subjected to difficulties or tribulations in our life that we cannot see anything good. God is going to increase it by putting clay on top of that. No, just for now. But after a while, when you clean up, you will be fine. So if you are in a problem, whatever the problem is, and you see that, you know what, like God is increasing the problem. He is not increasing. He is doing something which you do not know, that at the end, it will be good for you. So this is a message of hope, that don't worry ever. As long you are with God, any clay or anything from Him will be for your sake. It will help you at some point. If you remember Joseph in the Old Testament, everything started to get really bad on him, to the point that he was in jail and in prison, he didn't do anything wrong. You put yourself in his shoes for like 2 seconds, you will feel, why God is doing this for me? But what's the end of the story? That Joseph is the second man in Egypt after Pharaoh. That's why you need to review yourselves whenever you have any additional things that you can see to add on your problems. Don't worry. As long as you are in God's hands and you know that, it will be good at some point. The last thing that we need to talk about is the blindness. We have two kinds of blindness. The physical blindness, the heart blindness. This guy was having a physical blindness. It's nothing. Nothing by the meaning of nothing. Why? Because simply he got connected to God. God created new eyes. He is okay. Not only okay. He was defending God, Jesus. He told them that he is a prophet. Although they threat him at the end of the story, clearly threatening him from the civil and from the religious punishments, he said no, he's a good guy. And he defended him and he talked to them very logically, to the point that they themselves were struggling and were like, they don't know what's going on. They themselves. Read verse number 16. Therefore some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God because he does not keep the Sabbath. Others said, how can a man who is a sinner do such signs? And there was a division among them. This guy made it. The blind man, he was defending God. When you are with God, you will be very powerful. That's the blind man physically who got connected to God. The most difficult problem is the heart blindness. People who have heart blindness are the Pharisees. And this kind of blindness have 5 criteria. B-L-I-N-D, blind. B, bossy. Those people are very bossy. What does it mean to be bossy? Bossy meaning you are controller person. control everything. Wow, that means any father or any mother or any priest or any head deacon or any one in a position or any owner of a business that they are bossy? No. Those people are putting the policy, it's called the policy system or system organization, and that's their right in order to put a vision and a policy to their places. But bossy is someone is controller, doing anything even if it is illegal, just to match his vision, even if it is illegal. Bossy people are ordering people in a very harsh, hard way. They are not accepting any kind of talking or negotiation. They never respect what others say. I'm not saying accept, but respect. Because you have to respect others' visions. If you are not accepting it, that's another issue, another point. But are you respecting others? Bossy people don't talk like that. Bossy. L, loud, very loud. They made all the bad comments about Jesus and about this man all over the place. The Pharisees. Sometimes you are loud, talking about others because those people did something to you. Now I want to ruin their reputation. Talking from behind their back, talking about everyone very loudly. Why? Because you have a heart blindness. You can see very well, but this heart cannot see. Blind. Bossy. Loud. Insecure. They have a very high insecurity. They are afraid of their positions, their money, their authority. Are you doing the same? Are you afraid of your authority or your position or whatever the thing which you are having? That's why you are heart blind. That's why you act weird with everyone. That's why you are very aggressive and not dealing with others in a good way, because you have insecurity. Are you? Wherever, in any position. B, bossy. L, loud. I, insecure. N, negative. Negative people are those who cannot see anything good, even if it is clear. They can't. They couldn't see that there is a man who had a blessing to see again in his life. He couldn't see before. He didn't have even an eye to see. They couldn't see the good thing. They only see the bad things. Some people have this negative attitude, like the Pharisees. Always negative. Some people just see the negatives in his wife and in his kids. You can see only the negatives in your husband and your kids. You can see only the negatives in your parents. You can see only the negatives in your kids. Only the negatives in the church, in the servants, in the congregation, in the priest, in the bishop, in the pope, in the government. Only negatives. You don't see the positives. And sometimes, because of that, you feel that, you know what? I am here to fix the negative things. If you want to fix negative thing, focus on the positives. Positives will increase, negatives will decrease. Believe me. Focus on the positives. Positives will increase, negatives will decrease. And if you want to fix something negative, I'm not saying that there is nothing negative. There is negatives. But if you want to fix it, you can fix it aside, respectfully. But a lot of things are positive. You just don't count it. You don't see it. Because of the heart blindness. Negative people, very judgmental to everyone, and definitely they can't forgive. How are you going to forgive others around you and you are negative? Definitely you will hate them. And that's why you can't live with that. And that's why you are always aggressive, always upset, because you are negative. You are not positive. You can't see anything good. And that's why sometimes you get upset from one of your friends or one of your colleagues or one of your family members or anyone, because he did something wrong to you. He did 100 things good for you. But I remember the one thing bad. And that's why I can't forgive. I am upset. No. Don't be negative. Otherwise you will be heart blind. D, dull. Dull means what? Means not working your mind in a good way. Not working your mind in a good way. That's dull. What does it mean, dull? Like, what does it mean not working your mind in a good way? Like the Pharisees. Everything very logical, and the guy was talking them logically to the point that he talked to them clearly. Verse 27, he answered them, I told you already, and you did not listen. I told you, but you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? He started to be sarcastic. Because they don't, like, what are you saying? Because of your blind heart. And that's why you can't even think in a very logical system. You can't accept it. You can't. You only see one thing, one side. You can't see other sides because you are heart blind. You are staying home, most of you, and in this coming week, which is the last week in the Lent period, please review those 5 points. Are you a blind-hearted person? Do you have the bossy attitude? Do you have the loud way? Do you have the insecurity? That's why you are aggressive? Do you have the negative attitude towards everyone? Blaming, complaining, not forgiving, very judgmental? Do you have the dull way of thinking? If so, please be connected to God. He is the light. He said, peace I give to you, not like the world giving to you. Please, this week, if you couldn't be connected for the previous weeks, be connected this week and review yourselves. Don't say, you know what? Yes, you are right, Abuna. As Abuna Tadros said in this video. So you know what? All what he said is exactly about my wife, about my kids. What about you? What about yourself? Don't take it and review it for someone else. We became like that. Heart blind because we just look at others, we don't look at ourselves. Please fix yourself before fixing others. Fix yourself before fixing others. Review what's wrong with you, not what's wrong with people around you. It's much more important. You cannot develop people around you without developing yourself first. You can't. Please review. Please sit with yourselves. Please have time. It's a blessing. God blessed us with this time. So please sit. Talk to yourself. Are you blind heart, bossy, loud, insecure, negative, dull? And fix yourself. God bless all of you. And praise Him always in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God.